My next two guests are among the nation's most respected mayors. They're very, very cool guys. Francis Suarez is the mayor of Miami, and he's focused on a number of initiatives designed to make life easier for Miami's older residents. These include housing affordability efforts and an in-home COVID-19 testing service for those 65 and over. And Mayor Steve Benjamin is devoted to job creation, expanding opportunities for all of Columbia, South Carolina's residents, including and particularly the 50-plus community. He's also invested in efforts in public transit, bikeways, greenways, expanding transit options for older residents. Really great to be with you both. Mayor Suarez, it's good to see you again. We've done this a lot of times. Mayor Benjamin, it's our first time together. But I'd like to have a talk. I mean, right now, I have spent the last week calling around all around the nation. Anxiety levels are not low. I mean, financial security, financial anxiety, and health, and not only an individual's health, but their role as a caretaker for someone else in need. All of these tectonics are coming together, and it's not a pretty scene. And so, I know Mayor Suarez. Let me just start with Mayor Benjamin and say, how are you dealing with that?
We're dealing with it with the understanding the gravity of the moment that we're in. And Francis and I are dear friends, and we speak often. We share data and share ideas and successes and failures, recognizing obviously what we can do. Anxiety is high. We're in the midst of the greatest pandemic since 1918, the greatest economic disruption in election year since 32, and the greatest social unrest around structural racism and others since 1968, all wrapped up into a few quarters in 2020. It's a real challenge, and I do believe that two communities equally yoked that approach these three epidemics of their own in different ways will come out very different. We have invested heavily here in Columbia in partnership with wonderful organizations like AARP and so many others in creating age-friendly cities that recognize the value of not only recruiting millennials that we talk about so much, but really focusing on perennials, those who are over the age of 50, recognizing that people who are 50 and 60-year-olds not only have unique needs, but also start more businesses, are more entrepreneurial than people at other points in their lives, that bring the value, that perennial value of experience every single year. So it has been really a wonderful opportunity to help shape our city for the next generation by focusing on this generation and the generations a little bit older than us. We still got some real work to do, some real challenges. The congressman, I think, was incredibly thoughtful and articulate in laying out some of those challenges. A lot of work to do. It's going to take some really thoughtful partnerships, intergovernmental, intersectoral partnerships that help all recognize the strength that we have together.
I love that framing, and maybe I'm behind in the lingo, but I had not heard the millennial perennial framing before. So I asked Mayor Suarez, what are you doing for your perennials?
I had never heard that term either. So Mayor Benjamin, who's a dear friend, like he said, like a brother from another mother, he teaches me something new every day. So what we're doing is, as you mentioned, we created, we had an issue, a major issue of affordable housing in our community, in our city. And so we carved out, and this is something that was highlighted by AARP as well, we carved out a senior rental housing program where those people who are already in affordable housing, but those costs were rising at a level that was twice as fast as Social Security payments were increasing. And so their income was fixed, but their costs kept rising. And so what we did was we created a fund where we could subsidize and make up for that differential between Social Security funds that were not increasing at the same pace as rental payments. So that was the first of its kind, possibly in the nation. As you said, we were also one of the first cities, I think we were the first city in Florida to do in-home testing, and we did it initially we did it in our elderly population because those are the ones that are obviously, all the statistics show that they're the most vulnerable. So we try to find ways to make sure that we can protect their health, as well as protecting them and giving them the opportunity to live comfortably and to be able to pay their basic expenses. None of these people are living are luxuriously. They're struggling. Some of them don't have cars because they can't afford to have a car. They can't afford to have gas. They can't afford the gas, and they can barely pay their cable bill. So we're doing what we can to make sure that they can live as comfortably as they possibly can.
Francis, I follow you on Twitter and your social media and listen to you. And Mayor Benjamin, I'm now following you too. But I think, Francis, one of the things that you have been worried about is the disregard over COVID. And right now, COVID is very, very high on that list of concerns of elder voters and elder citizens. And I guess I would say I was impressed. You basically, hey, all this stuff's going on the national level, but try to be sensitive to what's going on next to you, to your neighbor. And I guess you were trying to sort of say, you know, let's have some social trust. Let's be responsible. This is what Sweden has tried to do. Lena Hallengren, the mayor or the Minister of Health in Sweden, saying, you know, if you really appeal to people's sensitivity to just be good to each other, that can make an impact. And I'm just interested, again, looking at the elder community. You know, sometimes we deal with them as a siloed community away from this. Has your appeal just to people to be responsible and sensitive and empathetic with each other had an impact?
I think it has, and I'll tell you, I was in a forum last week with Mayor Peduto from Pittsburgh. It's funny, all the mayors, we sort of formed like a support group for each other. And Mayor Peduto was saying that, you know, there's three political parties in America. There's Republicans, there's Democrats, and then there's mayors. You know, and I think there's a lot of truth to that we sort of you know, we don't get involved too much in the partisan aspects of things. What we like to do is solve problems, and I think, you know, as you were mentioning, I think it is important that that there's a clear message of empathy and taking care of your neighbors, and doing things that are responsible, not just for your own health, but for the health of those around you. And so, you know, we find people who didn't wear their masks were potentially putting our elderly at risk. And we saw a huge utilization rate of masks. And actually the number of cases dropped from about 3,500 a day, which is an enormous amount. Right now, it's about the same amount as the entire state of Florida has. We went down to about less than 500 cases and less than 5% positivity rate. We're at a high of 21%. So we've taken action that has saved a tremendous amount of lives, and it's something that I'm really proud of.
It sounds very impressive. Mayor Benjamin, I hate to bring up a tough subject, maybe this goes, you have achieved budget surpluses in 6 of your 7 years without tax increases. It sounds very impressive to me. I can't imagine what the circumstances are now that you're dealing with when it comes to resources and revenue coming in. I imagine you've taken a real hit. So so I'd love to hear what that snapshot looks like. And how is that going to affect the priorities when you talk about, you know, age-friendly cities, these programs you've come in? How much duress will they be under?
No, I appreciate that, and I love the question and the answer from Francis. That Francis's ability to humanize data and put it in terms that we can all understand that we've been guided by our one true north, which is the preservation of human life, is the reason why in 2 years he's going to be the president of the U.S. Conference of Mayors. He's a heck of a leader. You know, the reality is that it was important to me when I became mayor to prove to people you can be good stewards of their tax dollars while still investing in the things that really matter. So a walkable and a bikeable city, a connected city that helps meet the needs of all of our citizens. And we've been able to do it. That good stewardship has prepared us for such a time as this. So we were obviously, like every city in the country, every state, we have to cut back. But we've been able to do it with fairly significant reserves that are going to allow us to continue to meet basic needs. You can never, ever cut yourself into prosperity. So we're going to continue investing in green infrastructure and the things that, again, help make our the efforts we've done in post-COVID for our seniors that help, particularly some of our most vulnerable seniors, help restore a sense of agency and connectedness between members of the community that might feel somewhat isolated right now. So you've got to keep on, and you won't get everything right, but you got to be innovative, you got to ideate, you got to iterate, and realize you get some things wrong, but you never stop trying to keep making the right moves. And again, when I talk about intergovernmental, intersectoral relationships, public-private partnerships that include philanthropy, AARP has been incredibly generous to our community in terms of placemaking and helping us just be, as Francis said earlier, just radically pragmatic. Let's figure out how we can work together, nonpartisan, let's solve problems and create a community that helps us get back to the good parts of the old normal. Some of the old normal, when we talk about a new normal, some of the old normal didn't work for a whole lot of citizens. So how do we use this period of crisis to start creating a community that helps us recognize the incredible value of all of our citizens and help us build cities that are age-friendly for all of us?
You know, one of the, to both of you, one of the things that really interesting, I had Steve Adler on the other day. You both know Steve because he was also active in the mayor's conference. That's where I first met Francis. Well, one of the ways I first met Francis Suarez. But in there we were talking about how the LEED, the LEED certification of buildings, that this same group was beginning to look at communities and what does a healthy community look like. And part of that is bikes and transportation and maybe coffee houses, benches and parks. But part of it is also intergenerational bridge building. I mean, I may be putting words in their mouth, but it sort of looked like, a healthy place, healthy, inclusive place that is diverse, inclusive across, race, across age. And I'm just wondering whether that effort is on your folks' radar screens in your own communities. Does it provide you specific enough guardrails to begin looking about how does the elder community fit in a healthy way and not get pushed to the side and ignored? Mayor Suarez?
Yeah, and I'll tell you, I was part of an organization called 880 Cities, and the organization, its mission was to create cities that are responsive to 8-year-olds and to 80-year-olds. We have a tendency to build cities because oftentimes those who are building the cities are, between their 30s and their 50s and their 60s. And I think, we often forget that to have a city that is complete and that works for everyone is to make sure that we're taking into account people that are on sort of the margins, if you will. And I think, it's important. So that shapes the way we plan. We did for the first time, for example, a skate park for young people, which is something that we didn't have in the city before, and it's been extremely successful. And as I've said, we've done a tremendous amount for the elderly in our community, like installing bus bench covers so that when they're out there and they have to take the bus, they're not in the searing heat. So we really take a huge effort to not just create a city that the average person can benefit from, but that all people can benefit from.
Mayor Benjamin, how about you? Is this on your radar screen?
I think the intergenerational key connection is the key. The reality is that our young people have a 15-year-old and a 13-year-old here in this house. They are dynamically brilliant digital natives. I mean, they will save the world from the rest of us. What they and a number of their peers up 10 years, 15 years don't have is the benefit of experience. Experience is the very best teacher. It's a painful teacher. So if you can find ways like we have through this Mayor Senior Wellness Network to help young people and our seniors benefit from a positive virtual experience, I will tell you the feedback I've gotten from our young people has been incredibly important as to how edifying it has been. And we just got to remember. So yes, I think the answer is absolutely yes. But we found some success in this effort, initially funded by some of our resources in partnership with AmeriCorps Vistas and AARP. We've got to remember that a world in which demography is destiny. If we don't spend thoughtful time pulling together these types of parts, our respective communities healthier. As America's cities go, so goes America. We now represent 85%, the metro areas that surround us, 85% of our population, 92% of GDP, 89% of our jobs. We've got to figure out how to keep doing this. And if we do it right, we'll come out of these challenging times stronger than ever.
Let me just ask you both real quickly, because I know we're near the end of our time. And I want to keep it apolitical. I love having apolitical discussions in a political town like DC, but I love your sensibilities there. But let's not imagine Donald Trump or Joe Biden, but let's imagine ex-president. What should your 50-plus community be hearing about these anxieties that they have from someone running for president of the United States? Steve?
I believe that the office of the president, the podium of the president, the microphone of the president is the most powerful voice in the world. And every word that comes out of his or her mouth should always be looking to bring people together. That is the beauty of America. And we are in some unique and maybe some would say maybe since the Civil War, Civil War and Great Depression, the greatest challenging point in our history. We've got to find ways to bring people together. And hopefully, I doubt it'll happen before the election, maybe post-election, whoever happens to win, we can start seeing more of that language.
Mayor Suarez?
I couldn't agree with Mayor Benjamin more. I think we not only have to bring people together, but we have to inspire people. I think elected officials have a duty, and their duty is to be inspirational. But I think if I were an elderly voter, I would be looking at, how is whatever president's policy going to affect Social Security? How is it going to affect Medicare? What kind of care am I going to receive into the future? Am I going to be taken care of? And I think those are the things that an elderly person worries about. That's their future. It's their health, and that's their financial security. Those are the two big issues. I agree, though, with Mayor Benjamin. I think what we're thirsting for as a country, irrespective of party, is leadership that seeks to bring us together. And I'll tell you, Mayor Benjamin, who is my mentor and my good friend, and someone who was a president of the U.S. Conference of Mayors, is really a great example of that. It's just somebody who, in Spanish, we would call him a buenote. He's someone who everybody likes. Nobody can say anything bad about. And that's those are the kind of leaders that we need in our city and in our country.
Well, I just want to thank you both. I've really enjoyed that. I'm also a big fan of the Conference of U.S. Mayors. And again, we did a big program with all of you last February that was so important. And what a pleasure to see so many cool mayors, innovating across the country. But Mayor Steve Benjamin of Columbia, South Carolina, Mayor Francis Suarez, the City of Miami, thank you so much for sharing your thoughts today on these important issues. Really appreciate it.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you for having me.